Hey everybody, welcome to the Daily Space Weather. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Dan, aka smAsho. Today we're talking about the Coronal Mass Ejection Watch, which continues. New merch. We'll turn you on to some exclusive content and more. First thing we're going to do is show you a bunch of data. Here's the data from the SDO. We're looking at three different wavelengths of the sun. 211, 193, and 171 angstroms. A very rich series of data from SDO about the local yellow dwarf. And I would note this area down here in the southeast has not produced any coronal mass ejections that we can see yet. Also some activity up here. And let's don't forget about sunspot 2800. So lots of stuff to cover, and we'll explain why the Coronal Mass Ejection Watch is a thing. It's because there's a lot of plasma in between the sun and the earth right now. Now we're looking at the colorized magnetogram, and sunspot 2800 has it looks like it degraded a little bit here. The trailing umbra looks like it's shrunk. You see that red, orange, yellow region there. Looks like it got weaker. This might be downgraded to an alpha class sunspot today. The radio flux is still only at 76. There's a 1-year chart of that to put it in context. That's courtesy solon.info. And for you new viewers, the radio flux is a measurement of the radio output of the sun's outer corona. It's very proportional to sunspot number, as you can see from the charts here. There's sunspot number throughout cycle 24 and the beginning of cycle 25, and there's the radio flux. Here's what's going on in the solar system. Happy full moon. Looks like a full moon in the next 24 hours. I won't tell you the exact time today. It's not that relevant to the daily space weather, but there's where things will be in a week. Oh my God, is it a planetary alignment? Oh my God, it's so scary. Next, looking at in-the-sky.org. I like to draw in the ecliptic when I make myself a sky chart. And there's what's going on in my sky right now. If it were clear enough outside and I were outside, I'd be able to see the moon out there on the ecliptic. Where were you when Cygnus rose? And we've got some fantastic helioviewer movies as always. We're only going to show you a couple of them at the beginning and save the best ones for the end. Here's a full disk view of the local yellow dwarf on 171 angstroms. Again, no apparent coronal mass ejections, but the likelihood of some happening is quite high. There's a lot of plasma suspended between you and that star. Here's a close-up of the northern hemisphere. Allow me to remove me from the screen. Whole bunch of plasma filaments in both the north and the south. Great view of the northern hemisphere there. And here's the close-up of the magnetogram. Sunspot 2800. Again, you can see that black trailing umbra. And you can see that it has indeed shrunk a little bit there. And it's a prime example of how we don't need to see solar flares to see coronal mass ejections. The likelihood of major solar flares is actually kind of low right now. Let's continue on to more data. We'll save the rest of the helioviewer videos for the end. If you want to view those, head to the last 5 minutes of the video. In the meantime, let's talk volcanoes. What's been erupting over the past 24, you're wondering? Well, I am. Merapi's been erupting. It's producing a 12,000-foot ash plume. Popocatépetl exploding down in Mexico, 19,000-foot ash plume there. Sangay exploding, similar-sized ash plume there, flight level 190. Revenador exploding in Ecuador, Flight level 150 there, it's a 15,000-foot ash plume. And intermittent puff emissions, producing a 25,000-foot altitude ash plume above Sabancaya, are an indication not to attempt to do the Fosbury flop over that caldera. And just a quick note of the VEI, Volcanic Explosivity Index. There's a great video on YouTube about this, by the way, if you've seen our community posts. It's yet another reason to subscribe as we refer our viewers to all kinds of other videos besides our own. So perhaps check that out. Go to our community feed, youtube.com/smashamash. You'll find our community feed on the community tab. I just wanted to note one little point here. Mount Pinatubo erupted in 1991. That was a VEI 6. And those only happen every 50 to 100 years. VEI 7s only happen every 500 to 1,000 years. And let's hope we don't see those. By the way, Pinatubo, the Philippine eruption from 1991, lowered the earthly global temperature by 0.5 degree Celsius. Next, we're going to do earthquakes. Here at the Smash News Network, we cover them daily. And we're seeing a continued drought of 7, 8, and 9 magnitude quakes. Here's a deep one striking Fiji yesterday at 9:10 Universal Time. It's at over 570 kilometers depth. Let's see what else we have. How about a 4.3 off the northeast coast of the North Island of New Zealand at over 129 kilometers depth? So a couple deep quakes there. Here's a deep quake in the Bande Sea, a 4.6 magnitude at 155 kilometers. And the reason that we cover the deep quakes is because mankind has no idea what's going on beyond about 18 kilometers depth. And when the Kola Deep borehole was drilled, they did not find what they expected at all. They didn't find basalt. They didn't find heavier elements. In fact, they found a plethora of hydrogen. What was all that hydrogen doing down there? Leave us a comment if you have a theory. And if you want to read about the Kola Deep borehole, it's spelled Kola. And it was performed by the Soviet Union. I think they got to 18 kilometers depth before they had to shut things down. 2 more deep quakes kicking off as we did show prep, such as this 4.8 magnitude tremor at the Philippines at over 120 kilometers depth, and this 4.4 at Bolivia, happening about 25 minutes later, a 4.4 magnitude at 255 kilometers depth. Next, we'll look at the real-time solar wind, which has subsided a little bit here. The coronal hole wind stream has de-intensified a little bit. You can see a decrease in the solar wind density now at only about 3.75 protons per cubic centimeter. And a slight reduction here in the solar wind speed, now down to about 475 kilometers per second. KP index at 1. So geomagnetism has calmed down as a result of that decreased solar wind speed. Next, looking at the pressure. It's a geospace magnetosphere movie. It's 4 hours of data courtesy University of Michigan. You'll probably see a little drop off of the pressure. And indeed you do. Next, we're going to go a little closer to home and look at ground magnetic perturbations. Since we're living through a geomagnetic excursion, we show daily where the changes in the B field have been happening, at least 4 hours of it. Ground magnetic perturbations. It's a geomagnetic excursion. We've got 2 north poles, and the South Pole has left Antarctica entirely and is someplace south of Australia. Today we're going to do a cosmology segment. It's going to be short. We hope it's going to be sweet. I don't know what it's going to contain because I'm going to roll a quantum die. Yes, I want a random quantum number between 1 and 1031 before I go to the Neil Gorell Swift Bat X-ray Observatory, and today's quantum random number is 684. So let's scroll down and see what that might be. 684. Quasar B1741-038. There are the X-ray transient output. The X-ray transients And it's quite a consistent X-ray source, as you can see from the upper right pane there. And let's take a look at this quasar on Simbad. Leave us a comment if we've covered this object before. I can't remember, but there it is. And we'll look at it on Aladdin Light too in a couple different wavelengths. First of all, let's look at it on the 2MASS in infrared light. There it is in infrared light. And we'll see if it shows up on the multi-mirror XMM Newton. Nope. How about on Chandra? Nope. How about on gamma rays? Nope. Does it show up in hydrogen alpha emission spectra lines? Nope. How about the Spitzer? Oh, man. Here it is in red, green, and blue. And we'll just show it again on the 2MASS. It's quasar. It's quasar QSO B1741-038, a quasi-stellar object. It's a galaxy, which you are oriented directly at the field, which is why it looks so bright. And that's today's cosmology segment. We kept it pretty basic. By the way, we are streaming live to Twitch. It's twitch.tv/smashamash. Thanks to our followers over at Twitch. And you may want to consider installing their mobile app as well. It's free. It's really good. And it's a great streaming platform, so we use it regularly. We're down to another 12 hours yet for the poll that we've put up on Twitter, twitter.com/smashamash. I've pinned this to the top of the profile. What was the biggest fraud in 2020? Was it that masks and lockdowns work? Was it that your vote counts? Was it the Fauci fraud about herd immunity claims and vaccinations? Or was it the COVID-19 mortality rate? You've only got 12 more hours to answer. If you're on Twitter, we invite you to do so. Next, I would invite you to check out our own websites. smashamash.com. You can find all of our social media links there. Yeah, we're on Gab, we're on Minds, we're on Instagram, all over the place. But most importantly, we've got new merch. So there's a whole new link there, the smAsho merch link. You can also link to our forum and our other stores. So check it out. Now we've got 3 items there. And if you want to see the Fauci fraud meme, well, there's a zipper pouch with Fauci's ridiculous-looking face on it. And you can also get all kinds of other things, T-shirts and so on. We've also got the Google Bias products, as well as the Dimension of the Year, Hell. Thanks to our YouTube subscribers. Please don't forget to press like and subscribe on YouTube, as the video cannot continue until you do so. And as you can see, the Smash News Network is on fire. So please press like and subscribe. Share on your social media, and don't forget to tell your friends, foes, science noobs, and science pros about the channel. As again, the video can't continue, and the flames will not go out until you press like, subscribe, notification, and share. Don't worry, we'll wait. Also, check out our playlists, youtube.com/smashamash. And we put out a BitChute exclusive yesterday. And I was going to rant about executive orders, but I really didn't. Here's a short clip. Freeze any new or pending regulations. The next day, well, I'm not going to continue reading the list because, like I said, I just wanted to basically advertise our wares here. So check out the new BitChute exclusive. You can find that. Check out the new BitChute exclusive. You can find that at bitchute.com/smashamash. And we've got exclusive content on all of our sites, especially Patreon. Please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/smashamash. Help support the channel. It's the main source of funding for the content. And please consider becoming a patron to increase the probability that these videos will continue to exist, be free, and be publicly visible. Thanks to our patrons. Again, the URL is patreon.com/smashamash. And patrons are listed active patrons at least, are listed in order of lifetime contribution. Next, we're going to show you some more data. And allow me to put this fire out now that you've pressed like and subscribe, right? And for that, we thank you. So here's just a diagram of the atmosphere, and we show this daily to show folks where the F layer is. That's the ionosphere there, just over 300 kilometers of altitude, is where the GOES 16 makes its measurements. There's the X-ray flux. We don't see any major flaring. No real surprise there, as the only sunspot of major significance here is sunspot 2800. Here's the GOES proton flux. No proton strikes over the past 3 days. No surprises there. And we're seeing pretty high readings here from the GOES magnetometer. Now that the Earth is in the South Pole-oriented current sheet, we'll show you the polarity in a minute. That's a 3-day chart of the GOES magnetometer. And as we forecasted yesterday, Earth is now in the South Pole-oriented current sheet. You can see there that red area and the Earth's potential field surface source line shown in orange. And we can expect to be here for the near future. Here's a line of sight coronal hole plot, and you can see a South Pole-oriented coronal hole, making it almost all the way up to the solar equator. Just about to move into the Earth-facing zone. We can expect a solar wind stream from that in about 4 days. And here's another line of sight plot. This also shows you the sun's B field in blue. It also shows you the poloidal fields and the solar magnetogram. It's all part of the National Sunspot Observatory, and we show it daily. Last but not least, here is the coronal magnetic field plot. And it's a chaotic environment. I have no comment. Next, looking at the ionosphere, going back to Earth. And the ionosphere is looking a little more normal here. We have moved into electron flux warning levels. And there's the ionosphere looking quite normal at 8:45 Universal Time. NOAA is forecasting even higher electron flux levels, and I would not tend to argue. I would tend to agree with that forecast. So expect a little stronger electron storm and more warnings, especially if you're a patron. So that's the 3-day forecast there. Those green squares, those are the forecast, and the yellow diamonds are the observations. So we don't see major charging hazards yet, although there are some internal charging hazards there over the southern hemisphere, places like the Indian Ocean and the West Pacific. There's a 3-day chart of the electron flux, and we reached about 3.5 times warning levels here. About 3,400 pulse flux units, if I remember correctly. And we're already back into electron warning levels. Expect significant GPS errors, especially if you're around the equator at noon. Here's the total electron content forecast. This basically shows you the inner Van Allen belt, which is the Van Allen belt through which your GPS satellite must communicate with your handset. That'll give you ideas of where GPS errors are located. Let's continue on. There's the 1-year chart of the electron flux, and you can see we're at pretty high levels here, right about there. That's also from Solon.info. And next we'll look at jet streams as we do a little bit of meteorology. Here is the jet stream situation in the eastern world. And check out this extreme bend in the southern Indian Ocean. Extremely meridional jet stream flow here, blasting some straight up Antarctic air into Madagascar. You can see right here. Quite a chaotic jet stream in the eastern world, to say the least. Here is the jet stream scenario for the western world. And let me just check the life of the stream before we move on. And if you had to do a global weather forecast, looking at the jet stream would be one of the best things if you had to look at only one piece of data. Doubled up jet stream here over much of the western world, especially the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, and extreme meridional jet stream flow here around places like around the Net Pole, around Greenland, and so on. And moving on to look at the GOES lightning mapper, we don't see that much lightning. Here's a real-time lightning map, courtesy lightningmaps.org. It's where I go when I hear thunder. And you can even forecast thunder using lightningmaps.org. Here's a U.S. Doppler radar map. And we've got a bit of snow forecasted here for the mid-Atlantic states. We'll get into it momentarily. We'll show you two different forecasts, both the GPS and the Euro forecast, as snow continues to fall in eastern California, putting down feet of snow. Lots of precipitation caused by that atmospheric river over in the west. So lots of moisture there. And here's the Euro forecast through Monday at 1 p.m. Now that's a bit of a long forecast, bit of a too long of a forecast, really. But the forecast is, now where I'm located in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. So I'm just going to drop a pin here. And the Euro forecast is for about 4 inches of snow for Lehigh Valley through Monday. And places south and west of here forecasted for higher amounts, 6.5 inches there. And keep in mind, this is the snow depth forecast. And next we'll show the GFS forecast. This one's on Tropical Tidbits. And there's the GFS forecast through Monday, February 1st at 1800 Universal Time, which is 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So a similar forecast there. Again, that is going a little bit far. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. And when I say eye on, well, the pun is intentional. Here's what's going on with the water vapor situation in the Americas. And allow me to get off screen and let this scroll. And there's an anticyclone there off the coast of western South America. You can see a counterclockwise rotation in the southern hemisphere associated with high pressure and anticyclonic atmospheric behavior. So there's that water vapor map. Here's what's going on in the cloud layer over the U.S. And we'll also show you the water vapor for that same scenario. And we're using the NASA GOES Interactive Shortwave Radiation Satellite to see where clouds are likely located at nighttime when it's too dark to see them. I would also note that there are low clouds across this entire portion of the country. You can kind of see them in the image there. And yes, clouds indeed emit radiation. Yes, ask a radio astronomer if you don't believe me. The slightest bit of mist will ruin your radio astronomy. Strong jet stream flow here over northern Florida. And you can see that atmospheric river now making its way across North Dakota into Minnesota. So that's a lot of moisture up there in the northern portion of the country. And we've got bonus features coming. Again, please press like and subscribe. Thanks to our new subscribers over at YouTube. Please press share, press notification, etc. Tell your friends, foes, science noobs, and science pros to join the Smash Team. And thanks, Smash Team. If you'd like a shirt that says Smash Team, well, go to smashamash.com and go to the Smash store. There's a Smash Team shirt. Maybe pick up a Smash Team shirt. Maybe do it in blaze orange, as nothing says, "Don't run me over or shoot me," like a blaze orange shirt. So here come the bonus features. We're going to show you the solar intensitygram and the colorized magnetogram in high res to show you the current situation. So there's what used to be sunspot 2797 and 2798. I don't think those are sunspots anymore, but 2800 remains. So here's sunspot 2800. I think it still is beta class, although this trailing umbra has weakened. Let's see if it's still beta class. And indeed, I think it is. It does have an opposite polarity trailing umbra, although it's weak. And do we see any umbrae associated with this old sunspot? And I still do see some small umbrae there. Looks like 2797 is still a thing. And I don't want to get the numbers confused. That's sunspot 2800. And by tomorrow, that might be the only sunspot. Or it could evaporate entirely, who knows. So in any case, we've got a couple more HelioViewer movies for you here. And they're pretty good. So here's 94 angstroms. The full disk view. And it looks like we have a little bit of lunar occultation here. The moon getting in front of the SDO near full moon. Here's 304 angstroms. We got most of the disk. I don't know why I cut it off. And you can see a whole bunch of filaments in the northeast and the southeast. Again, there are a bunch of plasma filaments in between the Earth and the Sun out here, out here. The likelihood of coronal mass ejections is actually high, despite there not being that many sunspots. Again, you don't need solar flares to see major coronal mass ejections. We've covered it repeatedly on the channel. And it's part of the reason why we started making our videos at time of solar minimum. Because there's a lot to understand when it comes to cosmology, and the Sun is the Rosetta Stone of all of cosmology. Changes in the understanding of the Sun's astrophysics change understanding of all astrophysics and indeed cosmology. So there's 131 angstroms. And here's 193. Good view of that coronal hole. Again, we're expecting a coronal hole wind stream in about 4 days from that. Just moving into the Earth-facing zone, South Pole-oriented coronal hole there. And here's a great view of a bunch of filaments. You can see in the upper left there some major filaments extending around the northeastern limb, as well as filaments in the northwest, and a close-up of sunspot 2800. Thanks again for tuning in. Remember, stare at the sun, don't drink, no matter how much the government drives you to drink, and if you do drink, don't drive. And since it'll never be now again, welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. Visit our links, and may that solar wind be at your back.